Welcome to my channel. World Scene News. Subscribe to my channel for news updates all around the world. Imagine a gleaming state-of-the-art deep-sea port, cranes ready, container yards empty, waters waiting for ships, the kind of place that promises to transform a nation's fortunes, where the future seems to shimmer on the horizon. It's a vision of progress, of prosperity just within reach, a symbol of hope for a country eager to join the global stage. But now, picture that port with almost no ships, ever. The docks remain eerily silent, the cranes unmoving, and the vast expanse of concrete and steel sits mostly unused, day after day. This is Sri Lanka's Hambantota port, built with over $1 billion in Chinese loans. It was supposed to be a gateway to new trade routes, a magnet for international shipping, and a catalyst for economic growth. It was meant to be an economic jewel, but became a financial catastrophe, a ghost port haunted by broken promises. Instead of bustling with commerce, it became a stark reminder of what happens when grand ambitions collide with harsh realities. The dream was simple: build it, and the ships will come. The hope was that this port would spark a wave of development, jobs, and prosperity for the region. The reality, however, was far different. A port in a location with little commercial activity, like a car park in the desert. The ships never arrived in the numbers needed, and the grand vision faded into disappointment. Revenues never materialized, and Sri Lanka was left with a mountain of debt. The financial strain rippled through the country, affecting not just the port, but the entire economy. In 2017, unable to pay, Sri Lanka handed over the port and 15,000 acres to a Chinese state-owned company on a 99-year lease. The deal was controversial, sparking debates about sovereignty and the true cost of foreign investment. This event became the poster child for fears about China's global ambitions, a stark warning of what happens when infrastructure dreams outpace financial reality. It sent shockwaves through the international community, raising questions about debt, dependency, and the future of global trade. Hambantota stands as a silent monument to ambition gone awry, a cautionary tale whispered from Africa to Latin America. Its story echoes in other ports and projects, where similar dreams have sometimes led to similar disappointments. It's a symbol of both the promise and peril of China's plan to reshape the world. For some, it's a beacon of opportunity. For others, a warning sign flashing red. When a deal seems too good to be true, it might just end with someone else owning your front door and your port for a century. The lesson is clear: look beyond the glittering promises and weigh the risks before signing on the dotted line. And that's where our story begins, a tale of ambition, caution, and the high stakes of global infrastructure. So, what is the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI? You might have heard the term tossed around in the news, but what does it actually mean, and why is it so important on the world stage? Think of it as the most ambitious global infrastructure project in modern history. A sweeping vision to reshape how countries connect, trade, and grow together. Launched in 2013 by President Xi Jinping, the BRI aims to rebuild the old Silk Road, both overland and by sea, connecting China to Asia, Africa, and Europe. It's about reviving ancient trade routes, but with a modern twist: high-speed trains, deep water ports, and digital highways. Officially, it's about boosting trade and helping developing nations build infrastructure. Roads, railways, ports, and power plants are springing up in dozens of countries, promising new opportunities and economic growth. But China had strategic motives, finding new markets for its companies, securing resources, and projecting global influence. The BRI is also a way for China to export its expertise and surplus capacity, while deepening ties with partner nations. The BRI was China's declaration that it was ready to lead, not just manufacture. It's a bold statement of intent, signaling a shift in the global balance of power. The plan: connect over half the world's population across 3 continents, weaving together economies, cultures, and ambitions on an unprecedented scale. It's a geopolitical gambit of unprecedented scale, promising to rewrite the rules of global development and cooperation for decades to come. But would it build a bridge to a shared future, or a road to ruin? The answer depends on who you ask, and what the future holds for this colossal experiment in global connectivity. After its 2013 launch, the BRI exploded onto the global scene. Ribbon cuttings, grand announcements, and a flood of Chinese money. By 2024, 149 countries had signed on, eager for a slice of the trillion-dollar pie. China's state banks funded massive projects, high-speed rail in Indonesia, ports in Sri Lanka, motorways in Pakistan, dams in Africa. Chinese firms and workers fanned out worldwide, building at breakneck speed, but this rapid expansion often skipped due diligence and ignored whether host countries could afford these projects. Environmental and economic risks were brushed aside in the rush to build. The boom was spectacular, but built on shaky foundations, and as history shows, booms built on shaky ground rarely last. The cracks soon appeared. Countries found themselves drowning in debt, unable to pay back Chinese loans. The promised economic booms fizzled, leaving highways to nowhere and ports without ships. Quality issues plagued projects. Ecuador's flagship dam developed thousands of cracks. Angolan housing crumbled. Corruption and mismanagement flourished in opaque backroom deals, inflating costs and fueling public anger. Environmental and social costs mounted. Dams displaced communities. Coal plants polluted, and locals were often shut out of jobs. Protests erupted from Pakistan to Kenya as communities pushed back against projects that threatened their land and livelihoods. The initial welcome mat was replaced with picket signs. The BRI's shine was fading fast. As debt crises mounted, critics accused China of debt trap diplomacy, deliberately lending to seize strategic assets when countries defaulted. Hambantota port became Exhibit A. China lent, Sri Lanka defaulted, China took control. Whether by design or accident, the result was the same. China gained a strategic foothold. China denies the accusations, insisting loans are fair and mutually beneficial, and points out that much debt is owed to Western lenders too. But the lack of transparency and reckless lending created perfect conditions for debt crises. Whether a feature or a bug, the effect was to leave many nations more indebted and dependent on Beijing. The debt trap label may be debated, but the debt is real, and the world was starting to take notice. The problems, debt, corruption, environmental damage, sparked a wave of global pushback that grew louder each year. What began as isolated concerns soon became a chorus of voices from every continent, demanding change and accountability. Italy, the only G7 nation to join the BRI, made headlines when it withdrew in 2023 after seeing little benefit and mounting public skepticism. The move sent shockwaves through Europe and signaled a turning point for the initiative. Across Latin America, initial enthusiasm faded as promised prosperity failed to materialize. Big Chinese loans dried up, and countries like Panama quietly distanced themselves, reconsidering their long-term commitments. Local resistance grew stronger. Protests erupted in Pakistan. Project suspensions hit Malaysia, and communities everywhere began demanding better terms, more transparency, and a real say in their future. The era of easy approvals and unchecked expansion was over. Governments started to rethink their strategies and priorities. Countries became more cautious, asking tougher questions about debt, labor standards, and the environmental impact of these massive projects. The global red carpet for Chinese investment was being rolled up, replaced by a new era of scrutiny and negotiation. The BRI was no longer the only game in town. Competing infrastructure offers from other countries and alliances began to emerge, giving nations more options and leverage. High-level exits, regional drift, and grassroots opposition fundamentally changed the BRI's trajectory. Expansion slowed, scrutiny increased, and the future of the initiative became uncertain. Countries now demanded more transparency and accountability, insisting on open contracts and fairer deals. The world was letting China know things had changed, and the rules of engagement would never be the same. Facing criticism and bad debts, China has pivoted. The fire hose of cash for mega projects is now a controlled trickle. The new mantra, smaller, smarter, and greener. Focus has shifted to targeted, commercially viable investments, often led by the private sector. China is rebranding the BRI as a green and digital Silk Road, investing in renewables, green tech, and digital infrastructure. Green energy deals are rising, but oil and gas still dominate. China's own economic slowdown means it can't bankroll unprofitable projects forever. The rhetoric has changed, but the transformation is slow and sometimes contradictory. Old habits persist, and traditional energy investments remain huge. The BRI's green pivot is a work in progress. The West is no longer just watching, it's competing. The G7's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment promises hundreds of billions for values-driven projects. Western alternatives emphasize transparency, sustainability, and responsible lending, avoiding debt traps. Major projects, like a new railway in Angola, directly challenge China's influence. But the Western response is fragmented, and mobilizing private capital is tough. Unlike China's state-driven model, Western governments can't order companies to invest. Still, developing countries now have options. They can shop around and leverage competition. This forces China to improve its own standards to stay competitive. The global development game is now a complex intersection of competing visions. For many countries, that's the best outcome yet. Is the Belt and Road Initiative falling apart? Not exactly. It's shrinking, stumbling, and transforming. The days of unchecked expansion are over. The BRI is now more cautious and contested. The pivot to smaller, smarter projects admits the old model was unsustainable. Money has slowed, participation plateaued, and failures have tarnished the brand. But China is playing the long game, shifting to green energy and digital infrastructure to stay relevant. The BRI has still expanded China's global footprint and created lasting dependencies. President Xi remains committed, seeing it as key to building an alternative global order. The BRI's future is uncertain, but it's not over. The world is watching, with caution, as the road ahead is still under construction.